Shalom, shalom, Shabbat shalom to the nation, to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, and everybody that's trying to make their calling and election sure. Before we get into this video, we're going to give all honor and praise to the Most High God. Salakia. We're going to give all praise and glory and honor and reverence and obeisance and supplication to the Most High God. I'm going to try to get off the Wi-Fi. All right. So, we're going to give all praise and honor and glory to the Most High God by the way of his Son, who was an instrument of salvation to the nation, right? Making both kingdoms one stick, one sheepfold, right? One flock. This is just going to be an exhortation video, and a call to repentance. And it's a prudent video as well. Flee fornication. To flee fornication, you got to be very prudent. Prudent means to be always thinking ahead, right? You got to be thinking ahead of the game. So, hey, look, flee fornication, we got to be very prudent. So, we're going to get straight into it. This is a 30 for 30 video, man. 30 videos, 30 days, 30 lessons, right? Trying to provoke brothers and sisters to good works, right? Didn't our Messiah say, hey, it's lawful to do good on the Sabbath? Hey, right now we're doing good on the Sabbath, man. Provoking our brothers and sisters to good works, exhortating the nation, warning the people, waking up our people. So I hope this adds to the fire and edification in y'all's lives. But anyway, let's get into it. First, let's go through some accounts, man, because we got to get some accounts of fleeing from fornication in the Bible, right? So this is Genesis 19 and 14. And this is the story about Sodom, right? Flee Sodom. Flee Sodom. This is spiritual Sodom and spiritual Egypt that we live in right now. We're living in the days of Noah. We're living the days of Egypt, the days of Sodom. All right. Plagues are finna happen. Prophecy is finna happen. We're living in those times, and you don't want to get caught sleeping, right? So this is Genesis 19 and 14. This is the story about Lot fleeing, right? Genesis 19, verse 14. It says, "And Lot went out and spake unto his sons-in-laws, which married his daughters, and said, Up, get you out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-laws." What does that mean? He was trying to warn these people of what the angels told him, right? The angels told him, hey, you guys need to flee because we finna destroy this place. Just like in the days of Noah, and Noah was building the ark and people was mocking him, right? So when Lot went to his in-laws, to his both of his son-in-laws, guess what? They thought he was mocking. They thought he was scoffing, right? Just like today, when people talk about Babylon the Great or America, they think that we're mocking America when we said this place is not going to last. They get offended, right? So that's what happened. His sons-in-laws got offended. Verse 15 says, "And when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot," right? Hasten means quickly. They got Lot up out of there. They hastened Lot, saying, "Arise, take thy wife and thy two daughters, which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city." Hey, it can't be any hesitation when you're fleeing fornication. It was a lot of actual fornication going on in the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. It was about 5 cities, right? And they all got consumed. So the angel said they hastened, because you can't, if you take too long to think about your circumstance in fornication, right, you're going to end up committing fornication. And that's, and I'm not just talking about the physical act of fornication. I'm talking about spiritual as well. Adopting the ways of this society. If you think too long on, should I celebrate my birthday or should I not, right, you're going to get caught up in fornication. If you think too long on, should I celebrate holidays and make my family happy or not, you're going to get caught up in fornication. You can't think too, you got to make haste, right? As he tells us in Psalms 119 and 60. He says what? I made haste. Let's get that real quick. Psalms 119 and 60. When David was speaking to us, he said, I made haste and delayed not. This is the book of Psalms 119. The book of Psalms 119 and verse 60 reads, hey, and finish the book of Psalms. There's some brothers out here, some sisters out here too, that have not finished the book of Psalms yet. Finish the book of Psalms. It's long, but finish it, right? The first few chapters, go by like that because they all short. But finish the book of Psalms, man. There's some good stuff in here. So the book of Psalms 119 and verse 60, it says, I made haste and delayed not to keep thy commandments, right? Let's go back to 59. This is the book of Psalms 119 and 59. I thought on my ways and turned my feet unto thy testimonies, right? So when you are caught up in the hour of temptation, whether that's sexual, physical, emotional, spiritual, when you're caught up in the hours of temptation and you have to pick the option of fleeing fornication, you have to, just like he said, I thought on my ways, but you can't think too long, because what does the next verse say, right? The next verse said, I made haste and delayed not. What does making haste mean? That means you're not delaying. You're not taking too much time, because if you take too much time to think about the sin, it's going to overcome you, right? So it says, I made haste and delayed not to keep thy commandments. We got to flee fornication, just like Lot, right? And so Lot, he kind of delayed. He didn't make haste. So the angels had to make haste for Lot before he was consumed. Because if we don't make haste, we're going to be consumed in the fire. We're going to be punished. We're going to be judged. We're going to end up birthing sin. We're going to end up acting on the thoughts that's in our head and in our heart, right? Let's get Genesis 19 and 17. Let's see that towards the end of that story of Lot, right? Genesis 19 and 17. And it came to pass when they had brought them forth abroad that he said, escape for thy life. Look not behind thee, neither stay thou in all the plain. Escape the mountain, lest thou be consumed. So you got to make haste and you got to actually flee. Here, Lot actually fled fornication, the city of fornication. And we got to flee the city of fornication, right? We got to flee all the wicked idolatry. We got to stop being drunk with the wine, right? Because spiritual fornication, hey, you are spiritual drunk. That's spiritual fornication. Right now, I'm labeling fornication as any type of sin, any type of immorality. That's spiritual fornication. And we got to flee from it, right? So let's go to Jeremiah 50:51. Since we're talking about spiritual, let's go to Jeremiah 51, and we're gonna talk about Babylon. The great city Babylon, which is spiritual Egypt and spiritual Sodom. Spiritual doesn't mean that it actually is. All right. So Jeremiah 51 and 6. Jeremiah 51 and 6. Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Right. Because guess what? If this is spiritual Sodom and we take it back to Lot, if Lot didn't flee his soul, it would have been no more. It would have been like his wife. His wife got what? Turned into a pillar of salt. So we got to flee fornication. And we're living in the city of fornication. We're living in a city where sexual immorality is at an all-time high. You can sleep with who you want to sleep with. You can call yourself who you want to call yourself. Sexual immorality is at an all-time high. Spiritual immorality is at an all-time high. Everybody is in everything except for the truth. But we knew from reading the foretime, hey, look, only a few of us are going to be saved. Only a few of us are going to flee. It's going to be a lot of rebels that are purged out as leaven. So guess what? We got to be steadfast. We got to flee fornication. So it says, Jeremiah 51 and 6, flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity. Don't be cut off in her iniquity. A lot of times, brothers fall short in sexual fornication because of what? Because of iniquity of the woman. A woman might see you, want you, plot on you, and now guess what? You committing adultery. You cheating. You cheating with another man's wife. Right? You lusting after her on social media. You flirting with her at holy days. You flirting with her online. You know what I'm saying? So you got to flee fornication. You can't think about it too long. You got to be like David and make haste and delay not to keep the commandments. And wear your fringes. When you wear your fringes, guess what? It might help you to remember to keep the commandments. Too many of our brothers and sisters ain't wearing the fringes, which was bid to us for throughout our generations, and that can help you flee fornication. It says he gave them to help us remember the commandments. That's a tool to help you to flee fornication in the hour of temptation, right? So Jeremiah 51:6, flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. All right. So let's move on. So let's get some accounts now. We're going to get some accounts of people fleeing fornication. And we're going to get some accounts of people that didn't flee fornication. Right. So let's start out with people that fled fornication. Right. So we go to Joseph. Genesis 39. And everybody know Joseph, he had to be a pretty attractive looking brother, because this queen, so to speak, wanted him. She ran up on the brother and tried to take his clothes off. So he had to flee fornication. So imagine if he didn't flee fornication. Imagine, would there be a tribe of Manasseh? Would there be a tribe of Ephraim? Right? If he didn't flee fornication, would he be blessed? Would Joseph be blessed? We would never know, but he fled fornication. So we gotta, all things written aforetime are written for our learning. So let's go to Genesis 39 and verse 12. Genesis 39 and verse 12. This is an actual fleeing of fornication, right? It says, and she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. She was ripping this man's clothes off, and he didn't care. He just fled the scene naked and all, right? He fled fornication. A lot of times when we flee fornication, it's going to leave us naked. It's going to leave us exposed. A lot of time when we flee fornication, we're going to feel like we're missing out on something. A lot of time when we flee fornication, we're going to feel like it's not going to always feel good right away. But hey, it's full circle. Because guess what? You chose not to sleep with this girl, right? Turns out she's crazy. You chose not to sleep with this man. Turns out he crazy. You chose not to celebrate that holiday. It turns out it was a shooting there. You chose not to go out to the club or to the strip club. It turns out there was a shooting there. So guess what? You might not know why you're being chastised, but you just got to take the chastisement, because he says he chastises those that he loves. So we got to flee fornication. As soon as you see fornication, you got to be prudent enough to flee it. It says a wise man foreseeth the evil. That's what fleeing fornication is. You foreseeing the evil to come and you flee from it. Joseph, he saw, if he laid down with this woman, he saw that, hey, it's a possibility I might get killed. It's a possibility, I already got kicked out of my own homeland. It's a possibility I might get kicked out of this homeland too, right? And they just started treating me nice. So he had to flee fornication. So let me read that one more time. Genesis 39 and 12. And she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand and fled and got him out. A lot of us is stuck in situations where we have to leave the garment in the hands of sin. We got to take our old garment off and trust that we're going to get a new one. We got to be able to flee the scene, right? So let's go to verse 21. Verse 21 says, but the Lord was with Joseph. Okay, so because he fled, it says the Lord was with Joseph, right? When Lot fled, was the Lord with Lot? The Lord was with Lot. So it says, but the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keepers of the prison. Because when he fled, guess what? Sometimes when we do the right thing, we still get bashed on. So Joseph left and she lied on his name. She bare false witness on Joseph, and he got threw into prison for fleeing the scene. Now, a lot of us, when we do the right thing, we might be like, wait, what's going on? I fled the scene. I fled fornication, and I'm still getting punished. I'm doing what you say, Lord, but you're not coming through. You got to be patient. Everything works according to his purpose, not our purpose, according to his calling, right? So he can show his mercy in our situation. So whatever's put upon you, you got to take it cheerfully. It might be friends. You might have worldly friends, and you got to separate. You might have family members that's getting on your nerves, or family members that's mocking and scoffing. You might have spouse problems. You might have sibling problems, but you might have monetary problems where you're tempted to fornicate with selling drugs, right? How can a man then know his own way? He's like, man, I fled the scene. I thought I was doing the right thing, and now I ended up in jail. This is the last thing I thought was going to happen to me after doing the right thing. And that's what a lot of us think. A lot of us think when we do the right thing, hey, he's supposed to show mercy to us when we do the right thing. He says, I put rain on the just and the unjust. So take it cheerfully, like Sirach 2 says. So I'm going to keep reading. But the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. So even though he went into prison, he got favor in the prison. A lot of our brothers and sisters receive favor in the prison, right? I know a few. I'm not going to name no names, but I know a few people. So I know the testimony is true. The things that's written aforetime, they're happening right now with the same people. Verse 22, and the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison, and whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. So, he was made in charge in prison. He got sent to prison. He got sent to a low estate, but he was brought to the top of that low estate. So, whenever you do the right thing and you get sent into a darker place, just know that your blessing is coming. I don't want to sound too prosperous, but guess what? You got to stay down. If you don't stay down and you're not a real one, you don't deserve a crown. If you don't stay down, you don't deserve a crown. So take it cheerfully, right? Be patient when you're changed to a low estate, right? Let's go to verse 23. The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him, and that which he did, the Lord made it to prosper. Everything that he did, the Lord made it to prosper. Why? Because he fled fornication. We got to flee fornication, spiritual, physical, emotional, right? Sexual. We got to flee it. Stay down until the come up. All right. So let's go to the next account. The next account, right, is one that everybody might know. A lot of sisters like reading this book when they first come into the truth. This is with Ruth and Boaz. Let's see if Boaz fled fornication. Because like I said before, a lot of times, women can entice a man. We just seen it with Joseph, that Joseph was trying to be enticed by a woman, but he fled fornication and he was blessed for it. Let's see if Joseph flees fornication, right? And I'm not saying Ruth is a bad woman, but sometimes women think with their emotions, so they overstep boundaries, or they act too fast. They act in haste in the wrong way. Now we should be ready to act in haste when sin is on the scene, but when when you're trying to do things decent and in order, you shouldn't act in haste. You should be patient, right? So let's see if Boaz fled fornication, because we got to flee fornication. Let's see if he's a righteous example for us, right? So Ruth chapter 3, verse 7. Let's start at verse 7. It says, and when Boaz had eaten and drunk, because he just was out, and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of corn, and she came softly. So Boaz was kind of feeling good, had the itis, he was mellowed out, had some wine, and he went to go sleep. So Ruth came and tried to, Ruth wanted a husband. It says in the Bible that it's a reproach for a woman not to be married, right? And she don't have kids. That's a reproach. If she doesn't have a husband, if she doesn't have a head, because that's what she was made for. The man wasn't made for her, but she was made for the man. So Ruth, she was trying to find a man of the kinsman of her husband that just died to take away the reproach. And she acted in haste the wrong way. And she probably didn't realize it, but she was causing temptation to come to Boaz. She was causing fornication to come to Boaz because it wasn't going to be decent and in order. So let's see if Boaz flees fornication or not, right? It says, and when Boaz had eaten and drunk and his heart was merry, he went to lie down at the end of the heap of corn, and she came softly. A lot of times, temptation will come softly. A lot of times, fornication will present itself as a blessing. And now, because you're getting blessed by the Most High God, you're staying in your sin. Because you got that job, because you got that degree, because you got that six figures, that 90K, that car you wanted. Now you think you blessed because you started an entrepreneurship, and now you think everybody's liking your pictures and everybody's supporting you. A lot of times it presents itself softly and gracefully, but you got to be prudent as a wise man and foreseeth the evil. Right? It says she came in softly and covered his feet and laid her down. A lot of times fornication going to treat you right. A lot of times you're going to get treated right by fornication. You might get that record deal if you're an artist. You might get that contract if you are in construction, right? A project manager. You might get that gig if you're a model, right? But guess what? If you model in underwear, that's taken away from God. So guess what? That fornication just disguised itself. If you trying to be an artist and they want to write your lyrics for you, and it's talking about some folly, guess what? You disrespecting God. You didn't flee fornication. So you're going to get consumed like Sodom and Gomorrah. You're going to get consumed like the days of Noah. You're going to get taken away. You got to flee fornication and be prudent and see the devices of the enemy. Not saying that Ruth is the enemy. I'm not saying that. But we can break it down. Everything is manifold, right? So what is this? Let's go to let's read. We're going to keep reading. Verse 8, and it came to pass at midnight that the man was afraid and turned himself, and behold, a woman lay at his feet. Boaz woke up at midnight, maybe to get a midnight snack, and guess what? A woman was in his room. A woman was laying at his feet. You know how many men would love to wake up to a woman in their room? Now, I'm led to believe that Ruth was a looker. I'm led to believe she wasn't ugly, because he noticed her in the field. So he woke up to a good looking woman at his feet after he just was full of wine, right? A lot of men would fall for that. A lot of men wouldn't flee fornication. Let's see what Boaz does. Verse 9. And he said, who art thou? And she answered, I am Ruth, thine handmaid. Spread therefore thy skirt over thine handmaid, for thou art near kinsman. She said, hey, take me. Let me be your wife. Kind of like what the lady said to Joseph. Take me. A lot of times it'll be so simple. Fornication will be so easy. It'll present itself softly. It'll disguise itself as a blessing. And it'll be so easy. And you got to be able to flee from it. And that's the hard part. A gift destroyeth the heart. So sometimes if it's too good to be true, guess what? It's too good to be true. You got to flee fornication. Right? Verse 10. And he said, blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast showed more kindness in the latter end than at the beginning. Hey, a soft reply turneth away wrath. Hey, you can give the truth without being a butthole. You can flee fornication without being that a-hole in the situation. Right? A soft response turneth away wrath. Boaz is giving her reverence, like, hey, what you're doing is very mighty. It's very mighty and it's very, respectable. I understand your situation, but everything must be done decent in order. Let's keep reading. Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, for thou hast showed more kindness in the latter end that are at the beginning, inasmuch as thou followest not young men, whether poor or rich. Saying that, hey, you got good judgment. I'm not saying he might have been boasting in himself like you picked well, but he's saying you got good judgment, right? So a lot of times when we trying to bring people in the truth and they tempting us with fornication unaware, because not everybody is wanting to send us to hell. They're just lost, right? We know that the love is keeping the commandments, teaching your brothers to keep the commandments, teaching your sisters to keep the commandments. And if you're doing contrary, that's not love. That's hate. But a lot of our brothers and sisters who are lost, they don't mean to act in haste to send us to hell. They don't mean to hate us, right? They just don't know. Ruth didn't know. So he had to give a soft response so she wouldn't so she wouldn't get the wrong picture. So a lot of times when we dealing with people in the world and we got to flee from fornication, a lot of times, guess what? We got to be able to give a soft response. We got to be able to compliment them on some of the things that they are doing good so that they receive the words out of our mouth. We don't want to turn away any of the elect, right? Israelite men stay girded, hard to remain under temptation, being made fine gold in these last days. Fleeing fornication will help you to be fine gold, right? Verse 11, and now, my daughter, fear not, I will do to thee all that thou requirest, for all the city of my people doth know that thou art a virtuous woman. Hey, I'm going to just keep reading. And now it is true that I am thy near kinsman, howbeit there is a kinsman nearer than I. So he's trying to be decent and in order. So what did he do? He was patient and he fled fornication. He could have laid down with her that night. But what did he say in the next verse? Verse 13, tarry this night, and it shall be in the morning that if he will perform unto thee the part of a kinsman, well, let him do the kinsman part, right? If he wants you, he gonna have you. I'm not gonna be out decent, and I'm not gonna be not decent, and I'm not gonna be out of order, right? We're gonna wait this thing out. I'm gonna flee fornication tonight. I don't have to sleep with you. I'm a king, right? And for the women, you guys are princesses too and queens, right? So, hey, flee fornication. I know sometimes it seems like it's the perfect situation and you want to tell yourself that the perfect situation means it's from God. But a lot of times God's going to put you in the toughest situation. So, hey, tarry. Just like he said, he could have slept with her and committed fornication, but he tarried. So, hey, we got to flee fornication as well. The next one. Since we're talking about spiritual, physical, emotional, let's talk about some spiritual, right? Let's go to Isaiah 13 real quick. The book of Isaiah, chapter 13. And this is also in part of fleeing Sodom, spiritual Sodom, fleeing Babylon the Great, right? Fleeing, and this is the spiritual sense I'm talking today. The spiritual sense, you got to flee the temptations of this world. Do not conform to this world. You got to be separate. You can't look like this world physically. You can't talk like this world. You can't do the thing that this world does. You got to be content with being with you and yours and keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. Because what does it tell us in Ecclesiastes, the very last verse? This is the whole duty of man, to keep the commandments. Fleeing fornication is keeping the commandments. All right, so let's get this. Isaiah chapter 13. Isaiah 13, let's start at 14. Verse 14. And it shall be as the chase roe, and as the sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee everyone into his own land. Right? It says, and it shall be as a chase roe. What's a chase roe? A chase roe is a deer that's being hunted. That's what this land is going to be turned into. Ain't nothing good coming to fornication. Fornication is, at the end of the day, it's going to be burnt like Sodom and Gomorrah. And the sheep that no man taketh up. The thing that you think is gold right now for in the world, right? A lot of brothers might see a Instagram famous girl or somebody that looks a catfish. That happens to girls and guys. You might see somebody on social media that you think is beautiful. Babylon the Great looks beautiful. America looks beautiful until you realize it's the sheep that no man taketh up. So it says, and it shall be as a chase roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee everyone into his own land. He said every man's going to flee from this fornication. Everybody's going to flee from this great whore. That's what the verse is telling us. When they see, hey, they've been catfished, right? Verse 15, everyone that is found shall be thrust through. You're going to be like Lot's wife. You're going to turn into a pillar of salt. If you don't flee fornication, you're going to be killed. If you don't flee, that's what it's saying. It says everybody's going to flee into their own land. But the next verse says everyone that is found shall be thrust through. So you got two options. You don't have free will. He puts before you a choice, right? You could do good or you could do evil. You could pick God or you could put mammon, but you can't have both. You can't be lukewarm or he's going to spew you out then too, right? So let me keep reading. Everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. If you don't flee fornication, you're going to fall by the sword. And you can fall by the sword many ways. Your brother can cause you to fall by the sword by reading the sword to you, and you getting cut up in the scriptures, and now you feeling bad. Right? That you better hope that's the sword that you get. That's the light sword. That's the sword you can repent from, because the other sword is eternal damnation. So we got to flee fornication. So let's look at some people that didn't flee fornication, right? And got thrust through in punishment. The first one, Susanna, right? In the book of Susanna, we all know about those two wicked priests. And those two wicked priests did not at all in any wise flee fornication. Bear with me. Hold on. Hey, sometimes you just got to go to the table of contents. I ain't going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie. Susanna. This is the book of the history of Susanna, right? The book of the history of Susanna. Let's start at verse 7. We're going to read verse 7 and we're going to keep reading. Now, when the people departed away at noon, Susanna went into her husband's garden to walk. And two elders saw her going in every day and walking, so that their lust was inflamed toward her. So they have an opportunity to make haste and to think on their ways, right? And follow the commandments. But let's see what they do. Let's see what they do. Verse 9, and they perverted their own mind and turned away their eyes, that they might not look unto heaven, nor remember just judgment. So if you don't flee fornication, like I said before earlier, you got a split second to flee fornication. If you think about it, if you don't make haste and you don't think on your ways, like David said, what are you gonna do? You're gonna pervert your own mind. You're gonna turn away your eyes and not look up to heaven. You're not even gonna pray that he can take this temptation away from you. You're not gonna care about right or wrong if you don't flee in a timely manner. If you're not like Boaz, if you're not like Joseph, if you're not like Lot. Now, Lot had mercy because the angels took him when he wasn't making haste. But these two wicked priests, hey, we already know. And if you haven't read the book of the history of Susanna, go read it. And they perverted their own mind and turned away their eyes. A lot of times we'll justify our folly. It says a sinful man will not be reproved, but finds a way to do his own will. A lot of times in the world, we'll flee confusion. A lot of times in the world, we won't flee confusion. A lot of times in the world, brothers and sisters will be like, oh, this was making sense, but now it's contradicting. Instead of studying to show themselves approved, right? They don't flee confusion. They just accept confusion. And they leave the truth. A lot of times in the world, we pervert our own mind by justifying somebody else's folly. Well, I understand that her job, she has to do that. So I'm going to tell her, go ahead and take the Ovaltine. I'm going to tell her, go ahead and do it. It's mandatory. I don't want you to be broke. She does have a kid on the way, right? We pervert our own mind. We start saying perverse things that we know that's against the scriptures, right? A lot of times, and turned away their eyes, that they may not look unto heaven. We're not looking up to heaven when we don't flee fornication. We're looking in our own heart. We're seeking a vision of our own heart. We're seeking the opinion of man. What is he going to think if I do this? What is he going to think when I say this? What is he going to think when I wear this? We got to flee all these things. That's all fornication, spiritual fornication. That they may not look into heaven nor remember the judgments. They took their fringes off. You feel me? You didn't have your fringes on, and guess what? It says nor remember just judgments. Because you're not keeping the commandments. You didn't make haste in the time or the hour of temptation. Verse 10, and albeit they both were wounded with her love. It says they were wounded with her love. Hey, love hurts sometimes. Love hurts sometimes. And a lot of times, what? Temptation equals your own lust. And I'm gonna get into it. I'm gonna get into that. You beat me to it, but I'm gonna get into it. It says, and albeit they both were wounded with her own love. A lot of us hurt ourselves with the love for sin. Instead of fleeing sin, a lot of us we play around with it. Well, I'm not gonna smoke weed. I'm just gonna eat it. He said he gave every green herb for me. I'm just gonna eat it. Well, he said don't get drunk, so I'm just gonna get tipsy, and then I'll get tipsy again tomorrow. But I'm still not breaking no law. A lot of times we like to push the envelope. Right? We don't look to the heaven nor keep just judgments. We pervert our minds, and we're wounded with our love for all this sin. All things are lawful, but not everything is expedient. We wound ourselves with our love for all this fornication, spiritual, physical, emotional, mentally. Why risk it? Me and my ox always say, why risk it? And we have some heated debates about why risk it. Because a lot of times and I'll fall victim to it. A lot of times when you're in these heated debates, guess what? You don't ask yourself, why am I risking it? You just want to do it because it's in your head and it's logical in your head. You don't think about the repercussions for other people, or you don't think about the repercussions for yourself. Right? Your feet are swift to do mischief, but they're not swift to flee fornication. Just like these wicked priests. Their feet was swift to do mischief, right? It says they didn't look up to heaven no more. They didn't flee fornication. They perverted their ways, right? So let's keep reading. Verse 11, for they were ashamed to declare their lust that they desired to have to do with her. So if you are ashamed, a lot of us are already ashamed before we commit the act. And then when we commit the act, we hate ourselves. We need counselors. We're depressed. We start fasting, praying, but we could have prevented that. We could have prevented cutting ourselves if we just flee fornication. They were ashamed before they even committed the act. When they was thinking about it. So that lets us know that we have a conscience. That lets us know that we have a choice to flee fornication. Joseph knew he had a choice. It's either leave here naked and leave my clothes in her hand, or get killed by her husband and displease God. I'm gonna choose God, and I'm gonna leave everything behind. Just like Lot. Lot left everything behind, even his wife. I could stay and maybe these angels might be lying and weigh out my options, or I can be obedient and leave. You only have a quick second to flee fornication. Let's keep reading. Verse 12, yet they watched diligently from day to day to see her, and that the one said to the other, let us now go home, for it is dinner time. Let us go home, for it's dinner time. Verse 14, so when they were gone out, they departed the one from the other, and turning back again. So they didn't go home for dinner time. A lot of times we lie to ourselves when we say we're going to flee fornication. We say, yeah, I'm going to stop tomorrow. I'm going to stop today. It's a journey, right? I'm struggling with this, but I'm not going to do it. Knowing good and well that you still going to do it, right? Know that you're supposed to be reading today, but I'm going to read today. You just keep lying to yourself. I'm going to read today. I'm going to read today. It's 1 a.m. You tired, can't keep your eyes open, and now you're not reading. Right? So it says that they said they were going home for dinner, but what did verse 14 says? Turning back again, they came to the same place. They came back to the door of fornication. Right? And after that, they asked one another cause. They acknowledged Salakia. They acknowledged their lust. Then appointed they a time both together when they might find her alone. Guess what? They acknowledged their lust. So that's lawful. Confess your sins one to another. Salakia. Confess your sins one to another. They did that. They had another opportunity to flee fornication, and they didn't do it. That's how strong fornication is when you playing with fire. When you playing with fire, it could go, you might get burnt. No, I take it back. When you play with fire, you are going to get burnt. Who's going to pity a charmer right? When it's bitten by a serpent. When you playing with spiritual Egypt, spiritual Sodom, and you get caught in the flames and in the lake and in damnation and in the hour of vengeance, nobody's going to pity you because, hey, you've been warned over and over and over again. All right, let's go to verse 20. Verse 20 says, behold, the garden doors are shut, that no man can see us, and we are in love with thee. Therefore consent unto us and lie with us. So when you committing fornication, because they still ain't committed fornication yet, but they're running to it. Their feet are swift to do mischief, but they're past the point of fleeing. And that's the thing. You don't have so many options so many times to flee that once you miss that one or two times, even before you commit the act, it's no chance. You got no chance because you missed the first couple of calls. It tells us in the book of Sirach, I believe, or the Wisdom of Solomon, that wisdom will walk with you just to observe you, to see if you're worthy for her to even, and this is paraphrasing, to see if you're worthy for even her to come into your life. They was walking with wisdom. They're priests. They know right from wrong. They were ashamed, it said. It said that they confessed their faults one to another. They was walking with wisdom, but they put her off. So guess what? She said, you're not worthy for me to come into your mind. I'm going to let you commit this sin and get punished for it because you didn't flee fornication. It says, behold, the garden doors are shut, that no man can see us. We are in love with thee. Therefore consent unto us and lie with us. If thou wilt not, we will bear false witness against thee that a young man was with thee, and therefore thou didst send away thy maids from thee. This is what Susanna did. So we just went over some instances about men fleeing fornication. Hey, women can flee fornication too. And like I said, it's manifold. Spiritually, physically, mentally. Women can flee fornication too. So these two men didn't flee fornication. But let's see what Susanna does. Verse 22, then Susanna sighed and said, I am straitened on every side. For if I do this thing, it is death unto me. She, like David said, she thought on her ways. Let's see if she makes haste and delays not to keep the commandments. If I do this thing, it is death unto me. And if I do it not, I cannot escape your hands. It's death unto me. Why? Because she knows she's a virtuous woman. It tells us that. She knows the law. Her father knows the law. So she knows the wages of sin is death. She says it's death unto me. I cannot escape your hands. Verse 23, it is better for me to fall into your hands and not to do it than to sin in the sight of the Lord. So she thought on her ways. She's making haste to delay not to keep the commandments. Verse 24, with that, Susanna cried with a loud voice, and two elders cried out against her. Hey, she fled the scene. She screamed like all women do when they're being persecuted. So all praise for that. In this situation, the two elders, they didn't flee fornication, but Susanna did. We got to be like Susanna in this instance. Right? Let's go to 2 Samuel, Salakia. Let's read about David. Right? Did David flee fornication? Hey, all things are written for our learning. David is still David now. We can't take nothing from that man, but we can read for our learning, right? This is 2 Samuel 11 and verse 1. Verse 1, let's read. And it came to pass after the years was expired that the time when kings go forth to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him and all Israel. And they destroyed the children of Ammon and besieged Rabbah. But David tarried still at Jerusalem. David didn't go. When David was supposed to be fulfilling something, hey, sometimes when we're supposed to be doing something and we choose not to do it, we put ourselves in a situation where fornication makes itself present. So we got to stay steadfast in the truth, or guess what? We're going to be given over to a reprobate mind. He was supposed to be at battle. We're supposed to be spiritually at battle with our armor of God on, helmet of salvation, shield of faith, sword of the spirit, shoes shod with peace. Right? Girdle of truth. We're supposed to have the armor of God on at battle, but a lot of us, we stay home. A lot of us, we don't want to speak up boldly. We don't want to be righteous as a lion. We want to spare feelings. Right? So just like David, we didn't go to battle. So let's see what happened because when David didn't do what he was supposed to do. And it came to pass in the evening time that David arose from off his bed and walked upon the roof of the king's house. And from the roof, he saw a woman washing herself, and the woman was very beautiful to look upon. And David sent and inquired after the woman, and one said, Is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? And David sent messengers and took her, and she came in unto him. Somebody else's wife came in unto him, and he lay with her. For she was purified of her uncleanness, and she returned unto her house. So when David wasn't fighting the good fight of faith, when he wasn't at battle, sin presented itself. When you don't show up to work to be it says no man is fit for the kingdom if you take up a plow and put it down. You can't put your plow down once you start. It doesn't matter what nobody say, what nobody think. You can't put that plow down. It doesn't matter how tired you get. It says, grow not, be not weary in well doing. For in due season you shall reap if you faint not. Joseph did the right thing, brought to a low estate. He didn't grow weary and he didn't faint not. It said everything that he desired, God gave it to him, even when he was in prison. Right? So we got to be having our spiritual garments on, our armor of God, and be ready to fight every day. Because if we stay home like David did, sin is going to present itself and we're not going to be able to flee fornication. David didn't flee fornication. He stayed home. He didn't go to battle. And guess what? Sin presented itself. A beautiful woman. As a beautiful woman, sin presents itself. And now you're left struggling. All right. So let's go to verse 27. Let's see how this thing kind of ends. Verse 27. And when the morning was past, David sent and fetched her to his house, and she became his wife and bare him a son. But the thing that David had done displeased the Lord. And we all know that his firstborn was killed. Right? That punishment. Just like Sodom and Gomorrah was consumed. Just like in the days of Noah, the people were taken. Just like those two wicked priests in the book of Susanna who got punished because Daniel, the prophet, rose up and spoke against them. It says that his judgment is likened unto a ring. What goes around comes around. You might get away with it, but it's coming back. Though it tarries, though punishment is not executed speedily, you know what I'm saying? Doesn't mean that you're not getting your just reward. And he's coming back to give everybody a reward according to their deeds. Revelation 22 and 12. Right? So let's go to some edification now. We got some accounts. Let's get some edification and some exhortative scriptures to keep us steadfast. Let's go to Proverbs 23 and 7. Proverbs chapter 23, verse 7. Flip right to it. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. So I want to emphasize the first part. For as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. So if you can't get past the fact that you're not a sinner no more, you can't get past the fact that you're a new creation, and you keep thinking that your walk is your walk and your journey is your journey. So many people I have conversations with, and they say, Austin, you're different. Some people, it's harder for some people. I heard a brother say, guess what? You can't let your struggles change the doctrine. If I'm trying to make it into Salakia, if I'm trying to make it into college and I have to fill out an application, right? I can't make my struggles of applying to the school change the application. I can't say I don't have enough money. Can you please let me in for free? No. So you can't use your struggle to say the doctrine has to hold up for you. You can't say, well, it's going to take me some time to stop being a drunk. It's going to take me some time to stop being homosexual. It's going to take me some time to stop partying and cheating on women and using the daughters of God. You know what I'm saying? You can't take your time like that and then try to come back to the school. He's not going to let you in. You didn't fill out the application right. Right? So let me go to 2 Timothy 3 and 7. 2 Timothy chapter 3. I'm going to go to verse 5. Having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof, from such turn away. A lot of times we have the power to flee fornication. It says ye are gods. We have the power to flee fornication, but we don't, because we deny the power that we have. And we don't make haste to do his commandments. We don't understand that we can't let physical, emotional, or sexual things control us, right? We are gods, little g. But we deny our power all the time. This is why men say what? They say, you know what I'm saying? Girls rule the world, for lack of better terms. They say girls rule the world because they can't control themselves. They deny the power that they have. A lot of brothers say that they can't stop drugs because they're addicted. It's you got power, brother. You a god. Don't let these devices of the devil cast you into hell, cast you into the pit. Right? It says having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof, from such turn away. Don't even hang around people like that, because you're going to be just like them. Verse 7 says, for all my people that says that they're on a journey, that their walk is their walk, and everybody's relationship is different. Everybody's relationship is the whole duty of man, to keep his commandments and to fear him. Verse 7 says, ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. You're going to be ever learning, and you never going to come to the knowledge of the truth. And it's going to come like a thief in the night, because you did not flee fornication. And now you're going to be caught. You're going to be stuck. You're going to be stuck. All right. So let's get some more exhortation, right? James chapter 1 and verse 14. James chapter 1 and verse 14. Right? Bear with me. James chapter 1 and verse 14 reads, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. So all the people that we saw that failed, that didn't flee fornication, it was their own lust. We know that God tempts no man. The Most High tempts no man. But we tempt ourselves of all this evil. So that's why we pray, right, that he takes temptation away from us, right? For our own lust. We cause that temptation upon ourselves. According to James, and according to thus saith the Lord. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. When you want to do what you want to do, a sinful man will not be reproved. A sinful man will not be corrected. A sinful man will not take advice, but finds a way to do his own will. And they don't flee fornication. And they will be consumed, and they will get their punishment. Verse 15. Then when lust hath conceived it, bringing forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, bringing forth death. So guess what? Lust per se is not sin. Lust is pregnant with sin. It says conceived. That means you made something. Something started in you from that lust. You can have lust and deny the lust, and you never sin. But most of the time, if you don't deny the lust, what's it do? It conceives sin. Then when lust has conceived it, because you didn't flee fornication, you didn't make haste, you didn't delay not to keep the commandments, right? You birthed sin out of that thought. You birthed sin out of that fornication. You birthed sin out of that temptation. Because why? You lied to yourself. You perverted yourself. You didn't look up to the Most High God for just judgments, right? When it is finished, bringing forth death. Then your ultimate demise is death, right? So let's go to Salakia. Matthew. Let's go to Matthew 5 and 28. This is the book of Matthew chapter 5 and verse 28. The book of Matthew chapter 5 and verse 28 reads, but I say unto you that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. Why? Because when you're looking at her, like David, You're lusting. And what does that lust do? It makes something. When you conceive a baby, it's formed in the womb. It's not birthed yet, but guess what? It will be birthed. So you're making sin, and then that sin comes out because you didn't flee fornication, because you thought it in your heart. And as a man thinketh, so is he. Right? It's common sense. It's plain upon tables. So let's go to Proverbs 7 real quick. We're going to end with Proverbs 7. So Proverbs 31, that's like a righteous woman. That's like a righteous nation. That's like a righteous wife. We went over that. But Proverbs 7, that's the contrary. Proverbs 7 is this wicked place, America. Proverbs 7 is sin. Proverbs 7 is fornication. Proverbs 7 is a woman lying in wait to trap up a man. So we're going to read through it and compare it. Right? Read the book of Proverbs. Right? It's not just motivational quotes. It's not just something the Bible app generates for verses of the day. You got to read it and get the understanding and wisdom. Proverbs 7, let's start at verse 10. Proverbs 7, verse 10. And behold, there met him a woman with the attire of a harlot and subtle at heart. Attire of a harlot. We know who the great harlot is. It's this wicked place called America. But the harlot can be multiple things. The harlot could be false religion. The harlot could be idolatry. The harlot could be breaking the commandments. What is sin? This is transgression of the law. So we know that the law is still here. So that's a harlot. Everybody that's asking you to break the commandments is a harlot. Every situation that's asking you to break the commandments is a harlot. And subtle at heart. Verse 11, she is loud and stubborn. America, right? Loud and stubborn. Her feet abide not in her house. That's the world. The world is everywhere but its own house. We want to go everywhere but our own house. Even on the outside looking in, everybody wants to come here instead of being at their own house. Same thing with the children of Israel. We want to be in Christianity, Muslim, Jehovah's Witness. We want to be in Buddhism. We want to be in all these places except for Zion. We want to be everywhere except for our own house. Right? So she is loud and stubborn. Her feet abide not in her own house. Just like America, we got military bases, in every single country. Just about. We try to get territory everywhere. But we don't stay here, though. As soon as we call back troops, we send them right back out. Right? Verse 12. Now is she without, now in the streets, and lieth in wait at every corner. Talking about a harlot. She lies in wait at every corner. She's working at the pyramid tonight. She's working at the corner. All right, verse 13. So she caught him. All right, I'm gonna skip down for the sake of time. Let's go to verse 16. Verse 16 says, I have decked my bed with coverings of tapestry. I got this place looking spick and span. It looks beautiful here. Sin looks beautiful. Fornication looks beautiful. With carved works, with fine linen of Egypt. Verse 17, I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloe, and cinnamon. Right? I made it smell good. It looks like it's good. It tastes like it's good. It smells like it's good. Come, let us take our fill of love until the morning. Let us solace ourselves with loves. For the good man is not at home. God's not here yet. Your judgment's not here yet. You got time. He is gone on a long journey. Right? You got time. Come on. Commit fornication. Verse 20. He had taken a bag of money with him and will come home at the day appointed. Guess what? He'll never know. But I know the day's coming, so you'll be able to get out that thing. And you'll still get your bag of money. I'll reimburse you. That's how sin presents itself. Subtle, soft, like a woman, like a harlot. And it's you got to be like Boaz and say, I'm a tarry into the morning. You got to be like Joseph and leave everything, all your clothes behind, and leave naked. And let the Most High cover you. You got to be like Lot and leave everything, even your wife. Right? You got to flee fornication. Verse 21, with her much fair speech, she caused him to yield. With the flattering of her lips, she forced him. So don't let sin flatter you with its lips. Flee fornication. With that, I'm going to say shalom. Shabbat shalom. Hope everybody was edified.